Hey listeners, we all know how important it is to get dedicated face time with retail buyers. And now when you upgrade to a RangeMeet Pro subscription, you get 3 in-person buyer meetings at an ECRM session. That's right, 3 20-minute private meetings with buyers in your category. Tell them your story, sample your products, and have a distraction-free conversation. And a pro tip, our Startup CPG community discount is the best deal around on RangeMeet. You can get RangeMeet Pro with the 3 meetings for $11.99. That's more than half off the regular annual rate. RangeMeet Pro subscribers also get unlimited product listings, a dedicated customer success manager, VIP access to limited time campaigns, exclusive ongoing submission opportunities, and insights into which retailers are checking out your brand and products. To learn more, visit rangeme.com/startupcpg.
My biggest thing and a massive differentiator in Huxley is that fruit juice is a key flavor and ingredient. It can't be sugar, it can't be anything else, it has to be fruit juice. And the reason is because I see so many other energy drinks out there, and they might have a fruit flavor or other flavor mentioned on the front of the can, but you turn the can to the back and you don't even see the name of that fruit. It is just non-existent, right? It's just hidden in the natural flavors. I mean, where's the authenticity in that? And for me, coming from food and beverage, it's always been about use the best quality ingredients possible, and it's gonna be great no matter what.
Hello, my CPG friends, and welcome to one of my favorite episodes. Get ready to absolutely nerd out with me about what it's like when a wine expert formulates a healthy energy drink. The brand we feature, Huxley, exploded onto the scene at Expo West. Then they won the recent ticket giveaway we did with the Beverage Forum, and then actually came in the top 3 in a very competitive pitch contest there. For anyone attending Fancy Foods, you'll be able to try them in our dedicated Startup CPG section. I love this episode. If you want to hear in the moment, what is it like to launch a beverage brand? And also just, it's fun to hear how well it's going for Simon. What a lovely guy. Enjoy. Hello, CPGers. Today we are joined by Simon Solis-Cohen, the founder behind Huxley, a brand new plant-powered super fruit energy drink that has had an absolutely incredible first 8 weeks in the market. They are dedicated to helping you reach your peak naturally with 90 milligrams of upcycled plant-based caffeine. They have just 5 grams of organic sugar, and they have functional benefits like electrolytes and L-theanine. Huxley is not just an energy drink, it's a commitment to better-for-you refreshment. Simon's journey from the culinary world to the wine industry and now to the helm of Huxley is a testament to his deep-rooted passion for food and beverage innovation. From working in 3 different 3-starred Michelin-starred kitchens to mastering the art of direct-to-consumer sales and marketing in Napa Valley, his expertise is across the gastronomic landscape completely. So, Simon, I am so excited to welcome you to the show, especially because I am sipping on one of these delicious Huxley strawberry sequoia drinks that I'm enjoying here. And it has been awesome also to see you really recently. And honestly, I just have to say, I don't recall seeing anybody get this much like attention and traction in the first 2 months of their launch. So maybe first, can you just tell me, like, obviously introduce yourself, and then what's that been like? Like, what's going on right now?
Yeah, thank you, Daniel, and I'm happy to hear that. I still feel like I haven't done enough in 8 weeks, so I'm glad to hear that. Maybe I'm actually on a good pace. But yeah, no, nice to meet everyone. I'm Simon Solis-Cohen. Live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's where I've lived since 2018. And we founded Huxley. I started it last year in 2023. But we just launched, as you mentioned, just practically 2 months ago at Expo West on March 13th. That was literally trial by fire, drinking out of a water hose on our launch day. But it's been an amazing journey, and it really feels like a complete culmination of all the different, I'll call sub-careers I've had in my life up until this point. And now being able to put all my passion and my energy and all my ideas into my own brand for once. So it's just been such a rewarding and honestly just super fun experience so far.
Okay, so Simon, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you are very passionate about this industry. Can you just walk me through the last couple months from launch? Because there's been so much happening and I've been hearing so many good things about you. Take us through all of it.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. So we launched on March 13th at Expo West, and that was really our big debut. We literally got our drink made just in time for the launch, and I can go backwards later and tell you more about that. But since the launch, it has just been hand-to-hand combat, as I like to call it, and just really going retailer by retailer, account by account, and working on getting everything set up and identifying the partners we want to work with. So obviously, as you all know, the biggest hurdle is just setting up distribution. So we just signed our contract with UNFI yesterday to be distributed here in the Minneapolis Twin Cities distribution center they have, which is such a massive hurdle, obviously, to be able to access more retail accounts. And we also have just been working direct with other stores in the meantime. So we have an amazing co-op system here in Minneapolis. I think some of the highest concentration I heard of any city in the country. So we've been working direct, and just the response has been incredible. Just the natural pull through velocity is just blowing my mind. And I'm still new to this, so I'm still learning what all those key metrics are and what is good versus bad on the metrics. Everyone's like, no, you're doing really, really well. So we're just so grateful with just the amazing initial response we've had.
Okay, so you launched March 13th at Expo. I know you got a lot of really great attention at the show itself as well. Like, how did you even know to do that, to get a booth at Expo? How did you have the confidence to think that would be a good investment? A lot of brands wrestle with this year round of like, am I ready for that? How did you make that decision and also have a good feeling you'd have the product in time?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you mentioned that, Daniel, because a lot of people told me I was crazy, right? They're like, oh, no year one product, let alone launches at Expo, let alone in their first year. And sure, it is a lot of money. I'm not going to diminish that at all. It was a massive investment, and I didn't even know exactly how much it would add up to because, when I had never been to Expo West, it was all brand new to me. And some friends told me about it. And, I came up with the idea that I wanted to create this new functional energy drink. I went back through my emails, found the exact date. It was November 5th. That was the day that I decided I'm doing this. So the next day, I look up Expo West and I just buy a booth. I call them. I'm like, do you have any booths left? They're like, we can pencil you into hot products, level 100. I'm like, great. I have this idea. I'm going to make this new functional energy drink. Let's buy the booth, deposit down. And so we did that, and it was very much one of those burn the boats mentalities where like failure was not an option. And I gave us 130 days to literally go from this crazy idea I had in my head to actually showing up with a product. I mean, it was insane.
So, I'm here to support founders. That's what I do. And I would have been there to support you. But the thing that I would have done to support you would have also been one of those people telling you, like, no, you're crazy. Don't do that. Like, because I've been through that. I've launched a beverage from scratch. I know how long it can take. So how on earth did you get it done that fast?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of luck. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I think so much of business is right place, right time, and luck. And I don't want to, diminish that part at all. But there's a few things. So one, I had such a clear vision. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And so my background, I actually went to culinary school. That was my first career, as I like to call it. I worked in fine dining and in food. And then I moved over to the wine industry into the beverage side. So I like to think I have a pretty good palate. I've eaten and drunk so many products in my life. And I know what I like and I know what I want. And so I was able to quickly come up with a list of ingredients and come up with what those differentiators I wanted for the product. Obviously, I needed someone to help me with a commercialization of the formula. And through just some networking, I got in touch with an amazing company that has had great successes making some of the most famous products out there in the beverage world that everyone knows. And so, it was a lot of trust I had to put in them. And so I went to them. I said, look, I can give you like 4 to 5 weeks. Can you do this? And they're like, we're going to try. No promises, but we're going to try our hardest. And I was just blown away. Well, it's a lot of those upfront meetings, being really clear. This is exactly the flavor profile I want. These are the ingredients. These are the non-negotiables. And I think giving them
what did you tell them that you wanted?
Yeah, great question. So my biggest thing and a massive differentiator in Huxley is that fruit juice is a key flavor and ingredient. So obviously the number one ingredient is water, but the second ingredient after that, I said it has to be fruit juice. It can't be sugar. It can't be anything else. It has to be fruit juice. And the reason is because I see so many other energy drinks out there and they might have a fruit flavor or other flavor mentioned on the front of the can, but you turn the can to the back and you don't even see the name of that fruit. It is just non-existent, right? It's just hidden in the natural flavors. And that just honestly pisses me off. I mean, where's the authenticity in that? And for me, coming from food and beverage, it's always been about use the best quality ingredients possible, and it's going to be great no matter what, right? So it's all about those ingredients. And so I'm like, if I want to have a mango energy drink or strawberry energy drink, why would you not? I mean, to me, it was almost like, why would you not use fruit juice? Why would that not be the backbone? And so for me, I was really inspired by, what folks like Poppy and Olipop and Wild Wonder have done to the soda category. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. And our goal is for the energy category. So I knew fruit juice, I want that light fruity flavor profile. I don't want it to taste like your typical reverse engineered knockoff energy drink. So that was a big, big focus.
That makes sense. And just like, that's super helpful to hear because I'm drinking it now. I'm tasting it. I see actually on your label, it says contains 11% juice, which that's awesome. And it's your second ingredient in this lovely strawberry sequoia flavor is strawberry juice concentrate. And the label is beautiful. So it shows obviously a big sequoia tree with strawberries, and it's very beautiful. And I feel like it is aligned with the taste that you get, and it makes a lot of sense seeing the ingredients. And so I'm going to take another sip here.
Please do.
What's nice about it is because I know caffeine can be a little tricky with any product because caffeine has a bitter note to it. And I think that's the most impressive thing is that the flavor of this, which, it tastes fruity in a nice way. And it works well because there's depth of the strawberry that I think blends well to ward off what you don't want from the caffeine. And so to me, it tastes very well balanced. This is like you wouldn't want it too fruity because then it's going to be hard to probably drink this whole thing, if it's like overpoweringly sweet or something. So it's not too sweet. It has the ripe depthness of the strawberry. It doesn't have the aftertaste that you don't want. And I think more than anything is it feel like when you drink the liquid, it feels like there's a kick, right? Which because you expect that from an energy drink, it shouldn't just taste like a juice. It should be like, oh no, there's something in this. So I think, yes, whoever you worked with, it did a very good and record timed job.
It was amazing. No, I appreciate that. I mean, we got done ahead of schedule. I actually got the whole production done a week before I was supposed to get it done for Expo. And the R&D team we work with, we're fantastic. I mean, so we have 3 SKUs. We have a mango mesa. We have the strawberry, as you just talked about, strawberry sequoia. And then we also have tangerine Teton. And so 2 of the SKUs, I believe it was the strawberry and the tangerine, they nailed it on the first trial. So, they put 3 different iterations together, shipped it to me overnight on ice, nailed it the first time, right? There's 3 to choose from. I was like, great, I'm going to take A from this one, C from this one. The mango, I was like, I just need you to, I gave them some feedback, what I wanted them to change a little bit in the formula, and they nailed it on the second try. And I mean, once again, I'm so new to this, but I hear that's unheard of, and so obviously it's a lot of credit to
I think it is, yes. And what I expect is that you gave them very good guidance. Because, food product developers are incredible. I think they're like artists, it's the same
100%.
as, if you work with a creative person, design agency, music producer, they have an incredible amount of technical skills. And the problem is getting what's in your head translated to what they can do and the tools that they have to work with. And so, because I've worked with people who are very strong on the palette and stuff like that, and I expect that's really what you're able to do is give them a very strong vision of what to go for, that then let them come and nail it. And it was probably just really aligned with the kind of ingredients that they were able to use, and being able to use the juice and then, just a little bit of sugar, right? Because if you look at those full sugar energy drinks that might have, 40 grams of sugar or something like that. I think a lot of consumers are looking there. There are many drinks that are doing well with 0 sugar, but then also I think a big movement for low sugar options where, it's 35 calories, a total sugar amount of 7 grams, which is 5 grams of added sugars. That's not going to immediately turn a lot of people off. And some people are maybe warm to the idea of just having a little bit of sugar in their drink rather than stuff that maybe I know there are some sweeteners out there that people are worried about, the 0 sugar ones. So
Yeah, for us, moderation is so important. I mean, I think that it's a word that I think in all aspects of culture right now, moderation is something we all need. And you have those extremes, exactly as you said, Daniel. If you have those, we'll call them legacy traditional energy drinks that, yeah, you're seeing 30, 40, 50 grams of sugar, depending on the serving size. And then you have some of these other spin-offs that are those zeros or, too good to be true, we'll call them, with sugar alcohols. And personally, I'm just not a fan of sugar alcohols. I've seen studies that scare me about potential health effects. Obviously, there's still a lot more to study. I'm not a stevia person. No disrespect to people who use stevia in their formulations, but I just don't like the taste. And I want pure deliciousness. And you can't beat it. We're using organic cane sugar too. So it's less refined. And even just at Expo, the feedback, people like, oh my God, thank God, it's organic cane sugar, like no stevia, no monk fruit, no alternative sweeteners. It's just a very pure taste. And with the fruit juice, you don't need a lot. It's naturally sweet because of the fruit juice.
And then, yes, and coming back to the formulation part, then like having the ability to then take what they're giving you. And I think the hardest thing to do is to put into words what it is that you want them to change. I mean, the most important thing is knowing that you like or don't like it, right? So being able to prove too right off the bat, amazing. And then being able to give them, I bet you could give them pretty specific feedback about like, okay, I don't like how it hits the roof of my mouth this way, or actually this taste is lingering, or I need more body in it, or, hey, the carbonation's not quite right. I mean, I bet you speak that language already, just based off your background, which I imagine is just such a huge advantage for you. But I still don't understand. Okay, you approved the flavor. How the F, excuse my language, did you source all the ingredients in time, schedule a run with a co-man, have confidence that you wouldn't miss that run and have to pay for it, and then ultimately lose all of your booth money?
Yeah, believe me, there was a few sleepless nights. I actually had to completely cancel a vacation, and my wife and I were planning a family getaway.
Okay, that makes me feel better. Sorry.
Yeah, no, there was suffering. I was supposed to visit my college roommate in Puerto Rico, visit him and his family. So I had to cancel that. So, poor me.
Okay, good, because it shouldn't be that easy.
No, it shouldn't be. That was the one sacrifice. But that was it. That was the only bad thing that happened. But no, I mean, once again, a lot of luck. And I think that's so important, is that I was able to work with a co-man locally here in Minneapolis to do a pilot run. So that was just great, living 15 minutes away and being able to show up for the run. I mean, that's, once again, not most people have that opportunity.
Was that the lab?
No, not the lab, but another one. Yeah.
Okay, because I've gone to Minneapolis for a pilot run, a sample run, basically at the lab, which was a very fun experience.
I've heard of them. Yeah. So no, I mean, that's amazing. And then, the ingredients. Yeah. I mean, I swear those vendors probably hate me because I sent them so many emails, but I try to be super respectful, but just lay it out and just show them the stakes. I was like, look, guys, there's literally tens of thousands of dollars on the line. I need you to waive your MOQs. I need you to speed this the heck up, and I even had one vendor gift me the product. They were just like, you know what? It's such a low amount. We're just going to make it on the bench and we're just going to gift it to you. We're not even going to charge you. Right. So just the fact that the CPG community and these vendors kind of rallied behind me was just an incredible thing. And I'm just, flattered that they believed in some crazy guy showing up out of nowhere saying, hey, I need this in 2 weeks.
Yes, that is an insane thing to do. Like, hello, I'd like to work with you. By the way, I need a bunch of stuff right away. It's completely urgent. I need you to waive all the minimums and let's just go. But I mean, you're such a passionate and charming guy that a lot of them responded to your energy and your vision for this. And probably it's going to pay off well for all of them because they took a chance on you, and just seeing the traction that you're getting already, I think probably they'll have a long-time customer. So one ingredient I had that's featured on here that I have the least knowledge but most curiosity about, I'm not even going to say it right, I don't think, is the Cascara Superfruit Energy Blend. Can you tell me about that? Because I know it's featured pretty prominently on here and is a super interesting one.
Yeah, you practically nailed that. So good job on the pronunciation. Yeah, so this is really interesting. And because, as you mentioned, caffeine, depending on the form you're getting it, can be very bitter, right? It can give, just even anecdotally talking to consumers when we're thinking about this and trying to, get some data about what consumers are looking for. Everyone said, that bad aftertaste you get with a lot of energy drinks, right? And I do agree with you. A lot of that is that bitterness from caffeine. So we wanted to find a different caffeine source. We wanted to see how we can create differentiation, but also bring in our big mission of sustainability, which for us is not a just check a box because it looks good that way. But like, that's what I believe in, and I want to put my money where my mouth is. So Cascara Superfruit is something that actually most people would recognize because it's the outer husk of the coffee bean. It just has a much more fancy sounding name. So what's really cool about coffee, if anyone's ever seen coffee grown at origin in the countries it's grown in, it grows on these trees. And the best way to describe it is it looks like an overgrown cranberry, a little bit bigger than a cranberry. It has this kind of harder red shell on the outside. And so that's what the cascara is. Cascara means husk in Spanish. And so when it gets harvested at origin, they're pulling these pieces of fruit, because that's what it is, off. And then they're breaking it open, and inside are coffee seeds. And that is what then becomes roasted. It ends up as the coffee we all know and love. And there's just, the two little seeds inside each piece of fruit. But what's left over is this husk, this cascara. And what happens is most of it ends up in a landfill. There's natural sugars in there, so it's going to start rotting, and it's going to start emitting CO2. And because there's so much caffeine and polyphenol content and other stuff like that, you can't really use much of it for animal feed. I think you could only use like 10 or 20 something percent, I read, as animal feed. So there's really nothing to do with it. You don't want the pigs and cows just jazzed up on caffeine, probably. So
that sounds like it would be like a wild petting zoo.
I'd love that petting zoo. I would go there. I'd pay for that. So this basically is cascara just literally sits and rots. And so I was able to find a study from Oregon State University, and what they did is they did a study about the 2019 coffee harvest, looking at the global coffee yield worldwide, and did the calculations on the mass of the husk to the beans and all that kind of stuff. And long story short, what they were able to calculate was the CO2 emissions from 1 year worth of this cascara rotting in landfills across the world. And they found it was the equivalent emissions to 3 million passenger cars a year.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we're all here trying to buy Teslas and electric cars, and hey, believe me, I think it's great. Well, oh my God, there are so many things out there in food and in CPG that are causing insane amounts of CO2 and emissions. And it's wow.
It's pretty amazing also. I mean, one, upcycling is just so cool, right? And we're seeing consumers look for a lot more of it, especially Gen Z that, fortunately for the future of society seems to make more purchase decisions around things like environmental concerns, which is beautiful. And just kind of amazing to think that all of that stuff is discarded, but also what's in there. I mean, that's nuts that you have caffeine, which a lot of people want as an ingredient and will get otherwise from some other place. And then also the polyphenols, which a lot of people will drink other drinks or take supplements just for the polyphenols, which I think it's an antioxidant.
Exactly.
And sort of helps your body deal with stuff. Maybe you can tell me a little bit more about what that does.
Yeah. No, exactly. So I'm going to probably butcher this, so, don't at me, but chlorogenic acid, I'm going to butcher that pronunciation. But yeah, which is in the cascara in really, really high doses. And so, people look at antioxidants from fruits like acai and pomegranates and things like that, and so cascara is the same thing. It's just this amazing, that's why it's a superfruit. It just has this amazing amount of antioxidants. And so there's so many studies I'm out there reading. And I feel like cascara superfruit really hasn't been studied enough from a medical perspective, and it's too early for me to confidently make any claims in our marketing. I'm very, very cautious on making health claims that are, only very, very well proven. But what I'm reading is so encouraging that there's probably more health benefits than we even realize, and I'm hoping more people will be studying it in the future, because I think this is just an amazing, amazing product that we're able to reduce food waste by using.
So I'm just going to read through the ingredient panel on here because I think it's super clean, really interesting. So carbonated water, strawberry juice concentrate, organic cane sugar, natural flavors, electrolyte blend, which is monopotassium phosphate, trimagnesium citrate, and then the cascara superfruit energy blend, which that I know how to pronounce from Spanish, but I didn't want to sound like an idiot, saying the Spanish word, when someone's mom rolls up to Taco Bell and is like, "Oh, hello, I'd like a burrito,"
Or you went to Barcelona for your semester abroad.
but I know that, from Spanish, I know that word is being the rind or shell or something. So that makes sense to me. And then in the superfruit energy blend, you have coffee Arabica and L-theanine and citric acid. That's it. So for me, pretty clean. I would be pretty happy about seeing all that stuff. So and then take me back then also just to the branding part, because it's very beautiful. And, I think everybody should Google this and check out the images, but basically you have in big red. It's very clean, so it's kind of like what's the color? What's the background color? Is this a cream or is
It
it
is
like a,
creamy.
okay,
Yeah,
a
we call it
vanilla kind of
clouds,
cream? Yeah, cloud cream.
but it's
And
more white, but just a little bit of that creaminess to it. Yeah,
yeah, like an off-white.
exactly.
And then you have the red Huxley font. The X has a feature on it that's a little bit jagged, what does that represent?
Yeah, that represents a mountain, and our
Oh, it's
whole
a mountain. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a little Easter egg in there, for anyone who sees it. But yeah, I'm kind of
Now I
cutting a
see
little
it.
mountain peak. Yeah,
Okay,
no, and
cool.
yeah,
It's rugged. I mean, it's rugged, so I get that. But okay, now I see the mountain. Now I can't not see it. And then it says plant-powered energy drink under that. And then you have the sequoia tree in a forest looking good and strong and towering. And then underneath that, the flavor name. So how did you get to this so fast also? Was that as easy as getting the formulation done? Were you doing it at the same time? How did you sequence everything?
Yeah, we had no choice but to do everything at once, right? And so that's obviously super hard because we're trying to design this, but also we just have to know certain things about like what's in the formula, right? How big is the ingredient list so we can block the space out? What certifications are we going to be able to get in time? Which we don't really getting them in time, but we now have them.
I was like, the answer better be none, or you really are a superhuman. Okay.
No, we were so close on the non-GMO, which we now have, and on future runs we'll put it on the label. But like there's like one or two ingredients that just took too long. Yeah, we couldn't wait. Yeah, and so for us, the whole vibe and inspiration of Huxley is we're inspired by the great outdoors and inspired by adventure. And I think we all kind of came through COVID and the pandemic, just locked inside. And I think all of a sudden now there's just been an amazing interest in the great outdoors and adventure. I mean, you saw, things like fly fishing take off and hiking and camping. And I think everyone's just really started to embrace nature again, which I think is an amazing, amazing thing. And so I wanted to be more than just a typical looking energy drink, and this is why I go back to my wine experience, right? So previous to starting Huxley, I had founded a wine marketing agency. I started that in 2018, and then I ended up exiting and selling it in 2023 in order to start my own brand because I was honestly sick of being a consultant. I'm like, you know what? I can help all these other brands, and that's fun and it's great, but I want to build my own brand. And so I had the benefit of being able to do a lot of branding and digital marketing and things like that for the wine industry. And one of the best lessons is the label sells the product, right? Especially in wine, which I would argue is even more competitive than energy drinks. And I know energy drinks is damn competitive, but the label is, I'd say, over 90% of kind of what makes that informed decision when you walk into a liquor store, right? And you look at that shelf of 300 bottles. Let's be honest, most people choose it by the label, and the label has to stand out. And so I can't tell you how many I probably spent every single day during those 130 days walking in different stores, energy drink set, just staring into space and staring at these aisles. And I'm like, what is going to be different? And I think that there's some amazing traditional legacy energy drink brands out there that make a crap ton of money and have an amazing consumer base. And that's awesome. But we think there's even more opportunity outside of that. And so when you look at our drink from, call it 3 feet back, it doesn't look like an energy drink. And that's the whole goal. One of the best lessons I learned from a designer, when I worked at a winery, we were doing a rebrand of the wine labels. He says the best wine labels from 3 feet off the shelf look exciting enough to pull you in. But then when you pull in and pick it up off the shelf, you see even more details and it reveals even more of the story. And I loved that. And that's what we wanted to do with this. We wanted to have this national park vibe. We wanted to name every flavor off of the parks. We wanted to have these custom bespoke illustrations that we did in-house to celebrate the parks, bring a little surrealism with the fruit. And as you pull in and actually inspect the can, you see more and more of those little surprises.
We'll be right back.
Hey guys, I know you all want to grow on Amazon, so I'm so excited to tell you about our official Amazon agency partner, Daybreak. I think they are the best fit for emerging brands. Their retainer is less than half of what most agencies charge, and their team are total killers. I worked with them on my last brand because I'd heard such good things, and they absolutely crushed it. They'll get you started on Amazon or help you level up. First, they fix up your listing, they make your creative ads, they manage your operations and advertising, and can even help with channels like Instacart and Criteo. If you're interested, email them. It's startupcpg@daybreak.agency. It's also in the show notes. And make sure to mention Startup CPG for $600 of free design credits.
And now, back to the show.
Okay, so let's dig into the comparison to wine a bit because that's super interesting to me and I've never had that discussion with anyone. First of all, obvious question, when you're doing the taste tests and approving the formula, are you doing spittoon, spit taste like you do with a fine wine?
I did. I'm that guy. And I try not to be like, I'm so anti-wine snob. I hate that part of the wine culture. But yeah, I mean,
so you didn't have your pinky up, you didn't
no,
swill it.
no, I just definitely swish it in my mouth for sure to taste it all. I'm that guy. I can't stop it. But yeah, it's just second nature.
Okay, so speaking of that, then, so you're drinking the mango one, right?
I am. That's what I have right now.
Okay, take us through a tasting of it right now. Just let's go through the whole
let's
thing.
Go for it.
Tell me what notes you're getting. Smelling here, my lovely strawberry one. Definitely smells like getting notes of strawberry. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so take us through the mango.
Yeah, so the mango's become my personal favorite, and so far I think the one that's like overall the biggest favorite from everyone who's tasted them. I mean, they're all great. They all stand alone by itself. It just seems this mango is just hitting a whole nother level. And so there's a few things about it when you taste it. So first of all, and this is where I'm going to like get wine geeky for a second, but it's all about balance. Balance is the most important thing, and also how you taste, right? You taste things in different places. So you take a sip, and then the first flavor that you're getting is this really luscious, fresh cut mango. And that's really, really important, that I wanted a freshness. That was one of those big buzzwords on my, pretty much profile I wrote up for my R&D team. I want this to be fresh. I want it to literally taste like I just picked the juiciest mango off a tree, cut it open, and handed you a bite. And so what I want to do with this is layer in how the sweetness and the acidity play off of each other. And so acidity you feel underneath your tongue. So if you take a sip like I just did of this mango, and now I just kind of sit here and just let my tongue sit, literally underneath my tongue, I just start salivating. And that's acidity. That's where you feel acidity. You feel that in wine. You feel that in this Huxley. You feel it in kombucha, anything with acidity, right? Right. So that's where you're going to feel. And then you get the sweetness, at least for me, the sweetness kind of coats the top of my tongue. And that's why I love organic cane sugar versus stevia or something else. Stevia leaves that almost like waxy coating feeling, I feel like, on my tongue. With this organic cane sugar, it's luscious. You can feel a little bit of a body to it. And then what's really unique about the mango formula is besides having the mango juice, we actually have mango puree. And so that's really, really important. So we're using Alfonso mango, which is a varietal of mango, to get super geeky. They're the more oblong ones, the less round ones. And it is just one of the best varietals of mango out there. They're so freaking juicy. And I mean, the best way to explain it is just this like literal explosion of tropical fruit. And that's what we want. And so we have a carbonation there too. And so like for me, one of the details I put on that brief for the R&D team is I want this to taste almost like a champagne cocktail. And if you have a mimosa, you have something like that, or a Bellini, peach juice, right? You get that orange juice, you get that champagne together. It's fruity, it's sparkling, but it's not aggressive sparkling. It's not like a Coca-Cola or Pellegrino bubble, right? Which is going to be much higher carbonation. This is on the lower side of carbonation, which one we have to do because it's pasteurized. But two, I just wanted to have that light fruitiness and light sparkling quality because I want you to go work out. I want you to be active after you drink it. So for us, it was just layering the sweetness, the acidity, that flavor, that carbonation, and all together, it's just a harmony. And that's what we're all about.
And carbonation, I was pretty interested to learn going through the product development process myself of like, okay, so you have different levels, right? You can say like a lot of co-mans in my experience, like we'll say, oh, we can do up to 2.3 in carbonation, maybe up to 2.5. But especially like when you pasteurize it, which means after the thing is filled, they heat it basically, and that's a kill step for food safety. They can go up to a certain level, but you might have some things like, I don't know, a sparkling water, maybe like a Perrier, which for me always, like I never would have known this before going through the process, but it feels highly carbonated, right? Like lots of little bubbles, like I don't know what level that got to. But the carbonation that you can select basically when you're putting it in, and you might want to max it out as high as we can basically do it without popping a bunch of cans, because that's what happens if you heat it and there's carbonated, is the thing's going to pop. Like if you leave a can out in your car in Miami on a very hot day, which I definitely have done a couple times. That
doesn't sound personal at all.
Oh no. Fortunately, that one was just water.
Okay,
so it was not too sticky.
Didn't stain the leather.
But yeah, pretty interesting how much the carbonation can impact the flavor
Oh my
and
God, yeah.
just, it kind of like opens things up, right?
It is because what it actually does, it is a flavor delivery mechanism, carbonation, right? And so basically, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but about 90% of taste, it's the olfactory system. It's actually not your taste buds on your tongue. It's the whole olfactory system. And so carbonation is literally, and this just goes back to my geekiness of I love champagne and sparkling wine, so doing a lot of tastings of that. When you have that carbonation, it helps really bring that up into your olfactory system, and you're going to get more flavor out of it. So if you drink one of these that's not been chilled, where obviously if you chill any carbonated product, the bubbles are more pronounced, it's going to taste totally different this as a chilled product versus a room temperature product. I mean, it's just amazing how that carbonation and the temperature makes it way more flavorful.
Okay, here's a dumb question from someone who was never good at these subjects in school. So, so it's like carbonated, so you're drinking it, but how does that open up your olfactory sense of smell? Like it's carbonated, so somehow it opens that passage up, or it's because it's bubbling, then more of so more of the scent from it bubbling then is going to go up the passageway and hit your olfactory, sensory. I'm going to run out of words that I know here.
Yeah, and that's why that's why we were joking about eye tasting and swishing it around. That's what you're doing. You're trying to bring in oxygen. You're adding the oxygen to the product in your mouth, and then that's helping to bring it up to your olfactory system. Versus if you just kind of just chug it and swallow or take a shot, you're barely tasting it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right. Thank you for everyone for bearing with us through us nerding out on beverage formulation, because I love this topic. And actually, I just tell everybody, you can probably hear from talking to Simon, but I'm kind of blown away by how much he knows about this coming into it. And I'm just like, okay, I get it now. I get why you guys were able to do this so fast when you just have someone with your massive skill set and palette coming in. And I pretty rarely have ever heard a founder talk about flavor so in such a sophisticated way. So it all makes sense now. Okay. I promise maybe we'll come back to it, but at least for now, let's move on back to the other part that you mentioned about wine and the importance of the label. So I think I've heard, did you say 90% or something of it is all about the label? Or I've heard that before.
I made up that statistic, but that's that my sense. Opinion of the decision-making process.
Okay. So how much do you think it would be then for something like energy or soda versus if you take a product like Red Bull. Red Bull for me tastes horrible.
Your words, not mine, but
yeah, I'm just for me personally as a consumer, that thing is gross. But okay, people learn to accept it over time. That's not when I was a kid, that did not exist. So it's not like a flavor that we grew up with.
Yeah.
But okay, maybe I had my first one because someone told me if I mixed that with some vodka, that was a good idea. Or because I had to study all night and I just heard that was the thing that makes you do that. And so then you drink it and it's like taking your medicine almost. That's for me personally, that's kind of what it tastes like, a little medicinal. But it's still the number one in the world, obviously. And people are still drinking it. But objectively, you meet a human who's never had anything in the category and give them that, I doubt they're going to pick that as their favorite drink out there. Yet it still does really well. So maybe, I don't know, people are still picking it because the marketing is so strong, or maybe a lot of people have even become nostalgic for it and they'll drink it during the day and remember those fun late nights they had with their friends, right? But so what do you think about the importance then of the taste in the category, which has a big variety of things that taste good or taste bad, versus something like wine, where I don't know, how many people even really can taste the difference between different bottles of wine from we've all heard about these things of can the real experts even differentiate between a $10 bottle and a $100 bottle? What do you think about all that?
Yeah, no, that's a loaded but really good question. I mean, yes, to answer your question about wine, most people can't tell the difference. I mean, there's so many studies I've read and stuff where, if you just tell someone, hey, they give them a $2 chuck and say it's worth $100, they just think, right? So perception is everything. They think it's good. And I think a lot of taste and a lot of this is you're told you should like it. So you walk in with that preconceived notion that this is what good tastes like. And I think that's a lot of it. I mean, when I started the wine industry, I started at the bottom of the food chain doing tastings in Napa Valley Winery tasting rooms. I was the dude behind the bar pouring samples, doing tours. I mean, I spent the first couple of years of my career doing that, trying to get people to join wine clubs, that whole thing. So I've just had years of experience just literally sitting with consumers doing nothing but pouring them beverages and telling them how to taste it and what to think about how to taste it. And so I think for me, I've had a front row seat to that. And it's amazing what persuasion can do, and it's all about how you present the product. And the thing about wine is, yes, there's that, we'll call it 1% of people who are wine snobs and geeks who have wine cellars and collect it. Great. That's awesome. And everyone else, congratulations. You're a cheap date and you're going to save a lot of money, because if you're happy with a $15 bottle of wine, God freaking bless you, that's awesome. And I think that, to go back to your example with the traditional energy drink category and how we're trying to disrupt it, I think a lot of people just have assumed this is what energy drinks taste like. They have this need for the caffeine, which is obvious. That's, pretty much one of the most consumed, things out there, in all of its different forms. And they just assume it has to taste that way. And what we're trying to do is say, but no, it doesn't, and we're all about not compromising flavor for functionality. So in my opinion, flavor is table stakes. Like, that is the baseline. Your product has to taste good. And then everything else is really about the differentiation. But in a weird way, I feel like in the energy category, I don't think people talk about taste very much, And so I feel like we can really start that conversation around flavor. And to keep harping on the fruit juice, that's just such a massive differentiator. There's just so few brands out there that are doing it. And then you have brands who are doing candy flavored energy drinks. And don't even get me started, because I'll rant about that for a long time. But I'm like, what are we doing to society and to the next generations, where we're just continuing to perpetuate this idea that things have to taste sweet like candy? Mm-hmm. And I think that that's kind of scary and dangerous. And it's, I'm all about, let's go back to nature, go back to natural. And fruit's the best way to do that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, the ones that are like fully loaded up with sucralose are tough for me, because they're so sweet. And then, like, they get warm also before you finish them. And then they're some of them are pretty tough to finish, even very popular ones on the market. And by the way, interesting coincidence for me, like with wine, during the pandemic, got very into wine, too into wine. I was not a big wine drinker, but I lived in San Francisco at the time and had gotten excited about a couple different wine clubs, vineyards that I like to go to. I had a really cool one up near Healdsburg that was beautiful.
Nice.
And dog friendly, and what I thought was good wine. So during the pandemic, I just started drinking a lot of Pinot Noirs from, that part of the world. So from Napa, from Healdsburg, and from Sonoma County, obviously. And because I was drinking a lot of it, I would get interested in it. I was having, a glass every night, and then just starting to see if I could actually do it, if I could call out the notes that was in it, right, before looking it up. So I would test myself on it. And then actually I was really surprised that I was getting a lot of it, at least, supposedly, whatever I got from it, I would usually get at least pretty close, or some of the stuff that a wine expert would have called out when I Googled it later. And I just got better and better at that, just specifically with Pinot Noirs, and more interested in it. And then, so when it came time for me to be formulating a beverage, I actually felt super prepared, at least compared to where I was, not obviously at your level, but to then taste things and be confident about what I was tasting and be able to say what I liked and didn't like. So although probably I did not need to be drinking as much wine as I was drinking during the pandemic. It did, but it did really give me a crash course in how to taste stuff. And then, you can actually buy these test strips on Amazon to find out if you're a quote unquote super taster or not, which I did, and then was very proud that I qualified as a super taster. It's basically if you could just pick up all of the flavors in the test strips. And then, of course, I lorded that over everybody of that's you wouldn't get it because you're not a super taster. Oh, no.
and statistically, women are more likely to be super tasters than men. So you are even more rarefied, actually. So,
oh, my gosh. Oh, gosh. Rare air
women
here.
usually have better palates, they say.
This is not on my dating profile that I'm a super taster.
It should be. Yeah.
Maybe if I worked in the wine world. But okay. So, but back to your brand. Okay. Okay. So, And I also, just one thing I noticed on here also is that it says 1% for the planet, and you have a call out for National Parks Conservation Association. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, and that it just goes back to this whole idea that I want to put my money where my mouth is, right? And if I'm going to talk about sustainability, I don't want to just, greenwash it. And I want to actually put the dollars and invest back into that. And so obviously 1% for the planet, started by the team from Patagonia, is just an amazing organization. And it's a pledge. And it's saying that we're going to give 1%. And the key word here is revenue, not profit, revenue. So as you know, as a new brand where profit is eluding people for a while in this industry, you're still paying from day one. So we're still making payments and donations to causes. It's so important, because we're taking resources from the earth. I mean, that's literally what we're doing to make this, and we have to give back. And so we decided to become a big supporter of the National Park Conservation Association, a fantastic charity out there that is doing a lot to help with education as well as preservation of the national parks. And since we are using the national parks as our inspiration and the names and the can art, it was just a complete no-brainer to work with them. And so what I love about working with them is that we're going to be able to direct where the money goes. And it's not just sending a blank check to some faceless charity and hope that it actually helps someone. We're going to be able to direct it to specific parks and to specific locations and really be able to see where our money goes to making sure that we preserve these parks and these lands for future generations to come, which is just so, so important. And I worry that what we're doing with, we won't get the whole thing on climate change and all that. We could talk for hours about that, but it worries me a lot. And it goes into other hard decisions I'm making, which, has been a roadblock, for instance, of reducing as much plastic as possible from our supply chain, and so when I'm packing out, we're not packing out in a tray wrapped in plastic. And it breaks my heart when I see brands that are quote unquote natural brands, and I see them in the backstock room when I'm delivering Huxley and they're being shipped wrapped in plastic. I mean, just such a waste. And so we're paying way more, obviously, to ship in just recycled cardboard boxes, just your standard RSC box. And that's, once again, it's putting my money where my mouth is. That's the right thing to do. Why would we invite plastic into this chain? And so we are going to move eventually from shrink wrap, which is our label, which you just unfortunately have to do as a new small brand. But hopefully by the end of this year, we'll move on to printed cans, and then we can really get rid of the plastic from our chain, which is so, so vital.
That's beautiful. I really applaud you. And I hope everybody launching a brand now does it as thoughtfully as you're doing it and just thinks about how can they use their business for good, whether their cause is sustainability or protecting parks or, whatever it is they're doing. But obviously it makes a lot of sense given the positioning of your drink. So given all of the good stuff that you're doing, given the taste of it and the branding and all of these promises that you have to the consumers, who do you think will be picking this up first on shelves? Who's what stores are you in, and who is the consumer that you think is going to pick this up off shelf first and become your diehard consumer base?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really interesting. We, as you said, we're only 8 weeks since launch, but we're already on some store shelves locally here in the Minneapolis Twin Cities, which is great. And, I've been doing demos, showing up and just, introducing the product. And, I know, back in, business planning 101, everyone's like, who's that target customer? Give me the exact age, what they made, where they live, all their hobbies. But and I truthfully say this, Huxley has such a wide array of demographics that we're successful with that I'm seeing already and that I think we can penetrate into. So as you mentioned earlier, I think Gen Z is a no-brainer. I'm thinking of things like college students, because obviously they need the energy to stay up late and do their work. We don't recommend energy drinks for anyone under 18, but those 18 and above, we think it's a great fit for those looking for an energy drink, with the sustainability mission in mind. But I'm doing really well with baby boomers. I mean, when I've just been going to these co-ops, and looking at who's walking in, who I'm getting the feedback for, baby boomers have been really enjoying this. And I think it's a few things. One, it's the 90 milligrams of caffeine. And I think that's a really important differentiator. That's the equivalent to 1 cup of coffee. And that's why I chose 90.
A 9-ounce cup of coffee, even, not even like a 12-ounce. Or not even not the if you get a venti from Starbucks, that would be more than double. Yeah.
Exactly. That's just your small cup of coffee. And so that's why I chose the 90. So that's easy. How much caffeine? As much as 1 cup of coffee, right? You know what that's going to do to your body. Usually how you feel. And then the low sugar, the 5 grams of sugar. And I think that for people in the baby boomer generation above, there is a focus on lower sugar, less caffeine, right? And so for me, it's just really interesting. Well, that wasn't my target. we're indexing really well so far. And so there really is this wide swath. And I think that, what I've kind of dubbed in my deck as the Diet Coke mom, right? I just, I look at, mothers who are, that 40 to 60-year-old, swath who drink that Diet Coke at 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's that guilty pleasure they have because they want a little of that caffeine. They want that sugar, but they probably know Diet Coke's not maybe, we'll say, the most optimal healthy drink to consume, to put it lightly. And they look at this and it's like, great, they're going to get that caffeine. They're going to get that little touch of sugar. It's going to be light and fruity and refreshing. So to me, like, yes, you could have Huxley for breakfast. We have the tangerine. You could replace that instead of your orange juice. I think that 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock lunchtime window is just that perfect window to consume this beverage.
We'll be right back. Hello, everybody. Have you ever reached out to a traditional recruiting agency to try to fill a role and then been shocked when you found out that they charge up to 30% of a first-year salary? That could be $50,000 or way more. That's so unaffordable for an early brand. But there's great news. I am thrilled to announce that Startup CPG now has an official recruiting partner that I think is the best fit for emerging brands. They are called Creative Alignments. They're a top-tier recruiter, and the best thing is that they work on an hourly model. It's called time-based recruiting. Often, you could fill a position with them for just 10 to 12% of a first-year salary, and if you work with them on multiple roles, you could save even more. They've worked with RX Bar, Cauli Power, Kodiak Cakes, Olipop, and so many other brands, and they are extremely well regarded within our Startup CPG Slack community. So if you're considering hiring, I really recommend reaching out to them for a free consultation. You can visit their website at creativealignments.com or email them directly. Our contact is frank.milianti, that's MILIANTI at creativealignments.com. And now, back to the show. Yeah, I think that lines up with the data that I've seen about how people consume energy, especially. And that makes a lot of sense to me because I've been in your shoes. I've been out there demoing in the energy category, and that makes sense that it would appeal to that demographic. Especially interesting timing for you to have this kind of a profile drink because obviously we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years just the surge for Celsius, especially, which had completely opened up the category in a very interesting way. So they have, and I think most of their line, they have 200 milligrams of caffeine.
Correct.
So, a little bit over double what you guys have. And that was an increase, right? And so I think historically what you saw was like Red Bull, which had 120 in their top selling line. And then you had some really starting to push the limit. Bang Energy had
300, I think. Yeah.
300. Which, before I went into the category, I, hadn't really had that many energy drinks, and I bought one and tried it and felt faint, honestly. I was like, whoa, my God, not in a good way. And then, so then you have Celsius that hits 200. Super interesting to me because if you, Celsius, here in LA, it's everywhere. If I go into Equinox, that's what I'm seeing everywhere. And that's a new thing because you wouldn't have seen health and wellness oriented, let's say 20 to 40-year-old women drinking a lot of energy drinks before. And now, they're they've just always got the Celsius somewhere near them. It's pretty interesting to see. And I think also if you ask them oh, do you drink energy drinks? They may be like, nope. Well, what's that? Oh, it's Celsius. Oh, well, it's, something else. They wouldn't necessarily categorize themselves as energy drinkers, and they did not drink energy drinks before they started drinking Celsius. So it completely transformed the category, brought in tons of new consumers who are now also open to other, I would say, alternatives. So then it's interesting for you then to be coming in already with a lower milligram of caffeine alternative, which I think is pretty interesting because just me personally, I do think that there will be some kind of backlash from a consumer perspective about the very high caffeine milligram options because, it's kind of push up and up and up. And then I think people will be like, okay, we like that, but maybe we don't really need necessarily that much caffeine, especially if I'm doing my workout in the evening or whatever. Okay, yeah, maybe that, so it sort of seems like it could pan out very well for you based off that profile. So anyways, a lot of that just to say, I really think the profile of your drink is pretty cool. So one topic I wanted to touch on. So I got to see you actually about a week and a half ago because we did this very cool partnership with the Beverage Forum, which is a conference that's been going on for a long time. used to be, I would say, primarily kind of like big time companies. You're going to see like the CEO of Miller Coors there, Molson Coors or whatever. And like, big companies, big time, like kind of buyers making, big decisions, but maybe not as much our emerging brand community. But now it was bought by LA Libations. And I think one thing they really wanted to do was to bring this new world to that conference and inject a lot of energy into it. And so we were really lucky to partner with them. So what we did was first a ticket giveaway, right? So they wanted to really, get the awareness out once LA Libations took it over and wanted to bring in this new energy. So we got to work with them. First, giving away 2 tickets to our community. So a bunch of people applied for this opportunity. And you were one of the 2 brands selected to win a free ticket to the show, which is not cheap. It's like a very cool, very cool show.
No, that was a real deal. Yeah, that was a heck of a prize.
It's not nothing, And you and Magic Mind got the free tickets to the show, which for an 8-week-old brand, or 5 or whatever, however many weeks old you were at that point, was super impressive. Like, oh wow! And you and I got to do a reaction video where I called you to tell you, and you were driving, and it was an expletive-laden reaction, which I loved. Like, oh my god!
I'm from Philly. I'm sorry, I can't. The fact I haven't used an expletive yet today is impressive.
Congratulations to both of us. So that was awesome. And then at the show, which was very cool, what we did is we got 15 brands up there, emerging brands in the middle. Like all the big time buyers are there. You've got the Sprouts buyer, the Walmart buyer, 7-Eleven Ventures there. Like all those guys are there. But most of the people featured on stage are people who have, let's say, quote unquote, made it already. Like, you had Allison from Poppy giving a really interesting talk, and even like Robert Downey Jr. was there giving a talk about Happy, like his new coffee. A lot of big timers. But then we brought the fun, I would say, of all of these new exciting brands. Most of those people had never heard about, but they were very interested. So we got 15 people on stage for 30 seconds. And so you were able to pitch, everybody was able to pitch, and then we had an hour of sampling downstairs. And our panel for this pitch competition was Brian, the Sprouts buyer, Kristen Alas from Gelson's, Darren Viscount from Bristol, and Matt Bunovich from 7 Ventures, and Jess from the LA Libations team. So everybody got to then do their quick pitches, come downstairs, everybody tried the products. And you guys actually came in the top 3 for that, which that was already a very competitive process to be one of those 15 brands that got to the pitch. And then you guys came in top 3, which is really unbelievable. And I had the privilege of sitting with all of the buyers when they were doing their deliberations, and their feedback for you guys was so overwhelmingly positive. And I think just everybody could not believe that you guys were so new, and just, everybody loved the taste and the branding. And I think, just everybody expected really big things from you guys. So that was a super strong showing. But anyways, in summary, you guys at that point were like 6 weeks old, and you won the free ticket to the Beverage Forum and then nailed the pitch. Everybody loved the brand, and you came in top 3 in a very competitive group. Again, being like a 6-week-old brand at that point. So congrats to you guys, because that was just really amazing. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, 30 seconds for a pitch. That's actually probably the hardest thing I've done. Like, give me 20 minutes at a PowerPoint. No problem. I got that, right? But having to get it into 30 seconds, I can't tell you how many times I rewrote my little script. I could only say 5 sentences. I didn't even say my full name. I didn't even say my name. I said the brand name. I'm like, Simon Solis-Cohen. That's too long. That takes like 2 seconds, So I had it down. I think I got exactly to 29 seconds.
Let's hear it. Wait, let's just drop it now. See if you can get us close to what it was.
I still remember it.
Give your best effort, and I'll just tell you how long it takes.
Oh my God. Am I allowed to pull up my notes?
I would say just rip it, and let's see how close you get.
Let's see. All right.
If somebody has not been listening to the last hour of this, and you can only tell them in 30 seconds about your brand, go.
Huxley is an innovative new energy drink that launched in March that proves you don't have to compromise flavor for functionality. Each can includes 90 milligrams of caffeine from Cascara Superfruit, the upcycled husk of the coffee bean. It's blended with real fruit juice and only 5 grams of organic cane sugar for delicious taste with 0 artificial ingredients. Huxley is inspired by the great outdoors, donating 1% of revenue to the national parks, ensuring every sip supports a sustainable future.
All right, and the crowd goes wild.
Can't believe I can remember that a week later.
I think it was 27 seconds. So
even better.
Good job, nailed it. So yeah, what was the overall experience then? Like maybe you can compare what was it like versus Expo, where you also were just getting tons of interaction with buyers, like being at the thing that was then just a lot of beverage focused people.
Yeah, I mean, I loved how intimate it was. I mean, I think that was really, really interesting and unique. I think it was 350 people total, I believe, attended.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, just that one-on-one access to the different buyers that were there, and I'll call them CPG celebrities. I mean, just meeting these other founders, being able, I got to spend time talking to Allison, founder of Poppy. I mean, shoot, she is just a rock star. She is so impressive and so unbelievable what she has done, and very inspiring, as I said, because what she's doing with Poppy to disrupt soda is exactly what I want to do to energy. So I could not ask for a better opportunity than to spend, I think we talked about 20 minutes after the whole conference was over, which is unbelievable. And then just getting the FaceTime with the buyers. I mean, some of them I'd met at Expo and already had pitched to them. And so this was just another way to get in front of them and just humbled. They even remembered my name and my face, which was great. And just continuing those conversations, as we all know, it takes more than one conversation to land these deals. And then, hey, I got to meet some potential, hopeful possible investors maybe one day. I mean, I got some great introductions there and other, vendors and people in the industry. So just being able to have such a, intimate, defined access to really the who's who of beverage, as you said, just being, I think 7 weeks old at the time, was just invaluable. I mean, and I think that I love networking. I mean, it's a hobby of mine, I like to say. And I think it just goes to show up. You just never know. Like, yes, we're only 7-8 weeks old. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who are aspiring founders who are just kind of intimidated and don't know, oh, should I do these things? Should I go to these expos? And it's like, I really believe you create your own luck, and you're not going to create it sitting in your office at home. You just have to show up, get on the plane, spend the money, and it will always pay itself back. And I've no doubt that will pay itself back for us in the long run.
Okay, so it sounds like you're doing everything right to have gotten this far so fast, but it's only been 6 months now. So actually, in this moment already, is there anything you feel like you should have done differently? Like a different timeline you should have taken, or maybe tried to speed something up, or, kind of like sequenced your stuff differently, or you should have invested in something else sooner, or you wish you had been, hitting sales earlier, or any kind of learning already at this point that you think you would do maybe a little bit differently?
To be honest, no. I mean, and I'm really confident, this isn't my first business. So for me, like, it's just getting right back on the bike after, spending the last 5 years building and then exiting and selling another business. So for me, it was just like, great. I know the playbook. I don't know a lot about CPG coming into it. I mean, and this is going to, probably make you blush, but, Startup CPG has just been this invaluable resource. I feel like, as I said, I've gotten like a master's degree, just through talking to people and slacking with people and making these connections, because I know wine, I know that side, but my specialization was direct to consumer wine marketing. So, I was doing Facebook ads and acquiring customers and running e-commerce. And now I'm trying to learn what I would call wholesale, what you all would call retail. In CPG, I know nothing about retail. I know nothing about working with distributors. So I've, hired some consultants to help me. I've been networking and chatting with folks and listening and devouring all your podcasts and all the content Startup CPG puts out. And that has just been able to teach me and just be a quick study on how this all works, because I want to know, what are the standards? How is business done? So for me, I just think we have a plan. We have our strategy, which I'd be happy to get into. And it's just now, I think it's enough talking, and it's now like, it's time to execute. We have the product, we know our strategy, we just got to now just go do it.
That's amazing. And honestly, yeah, it makes me really happy to hear that all of the experience that I've had, that the team has had, that our partners have had, can be helpful to you, because that's what this is for. Is really just, there's a funny bone inside of me that just gets a weird amount of energy from just being able to be helpful. Being able to share something, having, someone else find that really useful. And so it definitely tickles me every time I hear that something that we're doing is helping somebody from the community. So thank you. That's very, very validating and really lovely to hear. And yeah, I guess maybe just because you mentioned it about your strategy going forward, anything you want to highlight, or where do you hope that you'll be in a year or 5 years, anything like that?
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. And this is where I've relied on the community. I've been able to network with tons of other CPG founders or consultants or things like that. And I've decided to, go the slow and steady route. And I think that there's so many, people out there, young entrepreneurs who have this go fast and, oh, am I allowed to curse? I don't know. Break stuff, we'll say.
I think so. I'm not sure, but I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll say stuff. I'll be polite today. Go fast and break stuff mentality. And that used to be me, honestly. Like with my last business, I was like, growth, grow at all cost. And, it worked out great. But here I'm seeing how capital intensive, CPG is, as we all know. And I'm self-funded still right now. I mean, yes, I will need to raise money one day. That self-funding will run out. But for right now, I want to delay that fundraising as much as realistically I can. And, it's like, crap, can we cash flow this year? Can we break even at, may even make a buck, And so right now being in Minneapolis, which probably doesn't get enough credit for being such a CPG capital that it is. I mean, thanks to, if Cargill, General Mills, Target, all these amazing companies based here, tons of other amazing founders and entrepreneurs that come out of the Twin Cities.
And also the retailers too, right? You have NCG there, you have Infra based there.
Yeah, no, it's just an amazing hub. And I'm just so grateful that I happened to just randomly move here in 2018. So we really want to build in our backyard. And just the people I talk to, they're like, go slow. There is no rush. Like, you don't need to conquer the world in 1 year. And it is counterintuitive to how I'm programmed, and I'm really trying to moderate myself and mature and do that. So right now I'm focused on is opening as many of the right accounts as possible here in the Twin Cities. So as I said, we just signed on with UNFI. I'm already working with co-ops directly, which has been amazing. Some of these NCG stores until we get to UNFI, able to distribute us, which is fantastic. And we're having amazing sell-through already. We're able to have repeat orders. I delivered last week to a co-op on Thursday, and then on Tuesday they emailed me and said, hey, bring us more. So I just delivered that this morning. So like just to have that, and I haven't even done a demo at that one yet. I mean, because it's been like 5 days. We're going to demo later this month. We haven't even run a promo yet, and so the product is selling itself off the shelf, which is just really, really exciting. But then once we can actually put our marketing strategy behind it with intense demo support, a very thoughtful TPR strategy, I mean, sky's the limit, but all within reason. So we're going to open up as many accounts as we can out of that Twin Cities, distribution center for UNFI, and just go as deep and hard as possible. And then from there, we want to maybe look at the rest of the Midwest. Obviously, Chicago would be a great market for us. We're looking to do that. We've been authorized with Fresh Time already. We're waiting on the paperwork for that. So that's exciting. So we're going to be in all Minnesota Fresh Times. We want to do that for a couple months, get the data, get that velocity, and then hopefully, maybe expand to another state or all the Fresh Times, for instance. So that's really exciting. But we're also looking at some, maybe we'll call them, less obvious options. So, there's some exciting news we can break and some deals we just signed yesterday. So we actually I just made my first delivery to Lululemon, of all places.
Whoa, that's so good.
Yeah, not who usually CPG companies call on, but Lululemon has a flagship in the Mall of America here in Minneapolis where they actually have a cafe. And so they actually have a few locations with cafes in the back. So there's, coffee bar, smoothie bar. They have a little grab and go section. So they had a traditional mass energy drink there. And I just said, I'm just going to show up. So I literally walked into Lululemon with samples, met the manager, talked to her, explained the value prop, and obviously supporting locals so important. And we were able to get that deal done. And it's amazing. So we just dropped it off today. Hopefully we'll be on the shelf in a few days there and use that as a test to hopefully grow into more of the Lululemon cafes. So for us, that's exciting. And then yesterday too, we just signed our deal and we can announce that we're going to be partnering and launching on Misfits Market on their e-commerce platform starting in June, which is an amazing deal.
Oh, that's so good. I don't know if you worked with Jessie for that. She's awesome.
I worked with Brooke, actually, who
cool.
I think just recently was promoted into being the category manager for beverage and all that. And she has been a delight. But that's an example of, back to how we started this conversation about Expo West. Everyone's saying it's too soon. Brooke and Misfits is a perfect example. That came from Expo. And that deal alone in a month or two will pay off what Expo cost me, right? And so that alone just says the value in just showing up. We just cold LinkedIn as many buyers as we could previous to Expo. She was one of the people to be courteous enough to email back to me. She said, yep, I'll come to your booth, which I'm sure a lot of people say then don't show up. And then she actually showed up. We got to talk privately, followed up a week after. talked for maybe 20 minutes, and it didn't feel like a negotiation. It just felt like, yes, this is a natural partnership. The mission that Misfits has with upcycling, reducing food waste, what we're doing, it was just such a match made in heaven. It was just an easy deal to make. And so we're so excited to launch with them and see where that partnership goes. So yeah, I mean, it's just been incredible. And we have a lot more in the works we can't talk about yet, but hopefully some more exciting news. And every week or two we can, keep rolling out some thoughtful partnerships.
That's awesome. I am a big LinkedIn fan also for cold outreach, just figuring out who the buyers are. So it sounds like you have already mastered that. I'll give a quick plug for an app that we found that's called Scharff, Surfe. They're not like a sponsor of ours. I just recently started using it and I was like, oh my God, I wish I'd had this. It's a plugin for LinkedIn where if you like use a CRM like HubSpot, you can even be on the free version. And then if you pay for the Scharff subscription, or even they have a free one, you can then take LinkedIn messages and put it into your CRM to help you track all that outreach.
Oh my gosh, I did this.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's incredible. One, it'll help you get emails also for people off LinkedIn.
Oh, cool.
But then two, you can just click a button and add it as a deal into your CRM so that then you can be like, all right, ping me in 2 weeks if this buyer doesn't respond to me on LinkedIn, and it tracks all the messages that you have with them. Super tool. Very cool.
I love it. I'm stealing that. Yep, I'm gonna go download that.
Yeah, Surfe. It's very cool. I just got hooked on it. Cool. So, Simon, I think we really got into some good stuff. This was a fun one between two kind of beverage nerds, really getting into the good stuff. So, probably there are a lot of people who will find that part of the conversation incredibly interesting, and others who will just really have enjoyed hearing about the meteoric, I don't know how to say that word, meteoric rise of Huxley. And it'll just be so fun to stay tuned on your journey and just see how it goes, at Expo next year. And really looking forward to hearing about all of these things. And I am just so hopeful and certain that, at some point, this brand that I feel like is born to then displace a lot of the stuff at Target and be on shelves there and maybe replace some of the stuff that's, like too sweet, like we were talking about. So I'm sure that will happen at some point. And I'll be excited to hear about that. So just in closing, what's a good way for people to follow along the Simon and Huxley journey?
Yeah, no, great question. So yeah, LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. That's the best place. Just, you can follow me personally, Simon Solis-Cohen, or, the Huxley page as well. I certainly personally post a lot. I think it's important. I encourage other founders, post your victories. It's so important. You have to put it out there. No one else is going to say it for you. So I've been building in the open. And if you go and stalk my feed, we documented the whole 130 days that it took to launch. So there's some great content there. And also check out Instagram, Drink Huxley, TikTok, Drink Huxley, and of course our website, drinkhuxley.com. We do have direct to consumer, so I definitely would encourage anyone who's interested in trying Huxley, feel free to order from there. We're on Amazon as well, and pop it up on stores here in Minnesota and one day nationwide, but in a slow and tempered way.
Just last question. This is an oddball. It just occurred to me, but let's say, and you found $100,000 in the woods, and the requirement was you had to spend it in the next 30 days on your business. What would you put that money into?
That's a really, really good question. The boring answer is inventory, but I'll give you a more exciting answer than that.
That's a good answer. Yeah.
I mean, we both know how much it costs to produce a run. So that would be great.
Give me more of like a marketing or sales answer.
So what I'm actually working on is looking to hire right now is an in-house content creator. Just bringing, having run a digital marketing agency, we don't necessarily see direct to consumer marketing as a path to grow beverage brand. I just think it's too expensive. But for us, creating social media content that's really meaningful and engaging, and our goal with that is to actually drive to the stores, drive to our retail partners. So being able, I'd love to have someone full-time. Right now we're hiring part-time, but I definitely spend part of the $100,000 on just developing really, really good content, because that's the best way we're going to get our message. And, we're working on affiliate marketing programs and stuff like that. So I think spending money just to create brand awareness, I don't really want to be doing paid advertising. I don't really think there's a bang for your buck, but the organic content, I think, there's not enough money out there to make that.
Love it. All right. From a digital marketing expert. Perfect. Simon, thank you so much. Just for me personally, probably everyone can hear this was a good time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Beverage is a good time for Daniel. And just, I think everyone's going to enjoy watching your success. We are really proud at Startup CPG to be able to support you specifically and a lot of other founders like you. And not everybody gets the free, giveaways and stuff like that, but it seems like you're making the best use of it possible. So I'm really glad that their team was able to select you for that opportunity that you did then make the most of. So thank you again for taking this time with us. I'm sure everybody loved hearing it, and we look forward to seeing you all for the next episode. Bye, everyone. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast today, it would really help us out if you can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I am Daniel Scharff. I'm the host and founder of Startup CPG. Please feel free to reach out or add me on LinkedIn. If you're a potential sponsor that would like to appear on the podcast, please email partnerships@startupcpg.com. And reminder to all of you out there, we would love to have you join the community. You can sign up at our website, startupcpg.com, to learn about our webinars, events, and Slack channel. If you enjoyed today's music, you can check out my band. It's the Super Fantastics on Spotify Music. On behalf of the entire Startup CPG team, thank you so much for listening and your support. See you next time.